Yeah, I try to look at things as, opportunities. How can I use this situation to better myself, whether it be a negative situation or a positive one? Because out of everything, out of every situation that's presented to you in life, you should try to learn something from it.
Perfect.
Right?
But I was looking at it, like in a different way. And I always share this story with, like everybody that comes here and, start doing the cleaning or the painting or everything that we provide. I always share that story because it's, like it's not on them, it's on you. It's how you focus your energy there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then there goes your business. You know, there goes like the opportunity that you could have, just keep a relationship with somebody, fix a problem for them, and then be as a partner.
Right.
So. Alrighty, welcome back to Multifamily of the Cuff, and this is gonna be episode number 16.
16.
All right, Irene, welcome back.
Yeah,
I missed you in the last one.
Yeah, I had a break. It was like at the 40th and over. Like,
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Well, awesome. We have a special guest today. It's gonna be our first person representing the maintenance side from the multifamily.
Yay.
Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So Chris, just so we right now we're speaking to an audience. Okay, let me explain a little bit who they are. This is gonna be people that are gonna be new into the multifamily. They want to join the multifamily. They wanna be a leasing. Maybe someone from the maintenance side want to step up to the position that you're holding right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're gonna be talking to landscapers that they want to break into the multifamily. Okay. So this is who we're talking to. So let's go ahead and tell them a little bit who you are, your experience throughout, and so they can get a little grasp of who they're listening to.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a real honor to be here with you guys. So my name is Chris Phillips. I started out in the industry about 22 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
It looks like yesterday, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel that long ago, but at the same time it does. It feels like almost forever ago, and then some days I think about it and it feels like it was just yesterday. But I started out in maintenance. Like I said, about 22 years ago, I came on as a service technician, and I really didn't know nothing about the multifamily business. Prior to that, I was doing I did some AC work, and I was an electrician helper and things like that, but came in as a service technician, and I really just loved it. I fell in love with it very quickly. It felt like a lot of freedom that I didn't have in prior jobs, and I just really wanted to learn everything I could learn, and I did that, and it was, I think, 4 years later, I became a service manager. And so I became a service manager pretty quickly. That doesn't happen as often today as it, did back then, but took on a really old property. I was actually working for UDR at that point. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This was like about 15 years ago, maybe 14 years ago. And UDR gave me my first opportunity as a service manager.
Okay.
And I was in Virginia. That's where I'm from originally.
Okay.
So I took on that property, really old property. Just was very, eager to do well and to learn all I could as a new service manager, and just embrace the position. And then just gradually started growing, did some transfers to different properties, got onto bigger communities, property communities, and then down the road did lease ups. And so I was a service manager for about 16 years or so. And I recently came back to UDR and got the position of district service manager for Tampa.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
they hire you when you are going up.
Right.
When you move up.
It seems to have that trend, huh?
Yeah.
So, Chris, you said something very unique, and I say unique, and it's pretty sad to say this, but you used the word that you fell in love with this, with this niche or with this profession,
Yeah.
you don't see this often of people actually speaking about loving what they do. So it is
In
pretty
general,
cool
yeah.
in general, right? But it's refreshing to see that that you fell in love with it. And as I am a part of a lot of groups of maintenance on Facebook, on social media, it seems like you don't see that as often.
Yeah.
They find all the negativity, or whether they have to be on call, and how much they hate the managers and all that. But it seems like you have a different perception of the position.
Approach.
Yeah.
So what do you think that's the difference, and what's the difference that you see now that you have other maintenance supervisors under you, or even maintenance techs under you, and you see, and you probably agree with what I'm saying. So what do you see the difference is between how you saw it then, and what would you advise somebody if they're listening and they want to kind of follow your path?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think you got to look at everything that's presented to you as an opportunity.
Right.
If you look at things as if you have that negative mindset, everything in your life is going to be negative.
Yeah, even if you have like the perfect job, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever you have, it's not gonna be nice.
I try to look at things as opportunities. How can I use this situation to better myself, whether it be a negative situation or a positive one? Because out of everything, out of every situation that's presented to you in life, you should try to learn something from it.
Perfect.
So that approach, I think, is going to be the best approach when you're getting into this business, because not every day is going to be the best day of your life.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
right.
But that happens for
everything.
for everything, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not. But I mean, I always tell my our team, because sometimes it's hard to deal with all the mess that some people left when they're moving out. It's
Yeah.
just horrible.
Yeah.
And I always tell the story when we first started. We went to this apartment and it was just horrible, and I was just crying because I mean it was midnight and I'm still trying to clean this the bathroom door. It was like the glass one, and it looks like they never clean it.
Yeah.
And I'm just crying there, and it was just horrible. And like the more I was like crying and feeling, like I can't. It was worse. It was getting worse and worse. And then next day I say, you know what? I'm just gonna change because I cannot focus on the one that is moving out. The one that left, that person is already gone. Like it's not here. I have to focus on the one that is coming in because
Right.
that's the one that we're doing the job for.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when I changed it, like that mindset, it was just like the next day, the apartment was horrible, still horrible.
Right.
But I was looking at it, like in a different way. And I
Yeah.
always share this story with, like everybody that comes here and, start doing the cleaning or the painting or everything that we provide. I always share that story because it's like it's not on them, it's on you. It's how you focus your energy there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was saying. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember, picking up like trash off the grounds when I first started, and and when I first started, I didn't care what you asked me to do. I was going to go do it. I just,
Exactly.
Thank
I
you.
was just, I thought it was just amazing to even
Did
be
you
there
ever
where
say,
I was.
no,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not my job?
Yeah, no.
No.
They're
I
not
mean,
paying me for that.
but I didn't know when I first started, like that was one of the things I was going to have to do is go around and pick up this trash. And I said, well, okay, so if I'm the one picking up the trash, well, I'm going to be the best trash picker-upper there is out here on this planet. I'm going to make it look so good. You're never going to be able to say, that the property looks dirty. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But see, that mentality opens the door for everything. So I always tell people, it is what you do and your integrity of your worship, so that you're actually doing some stuff, and then the money is gonna follow. People usually say, "Well, I'm not gonna do this because you're not paying me enough,"
Right.
or maybe you're not doing enough, so that's why your pay just kind of go along with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So your performance has to be something that you carry with yourself.
Of
you know,
course,
that you do it for
you're
you.
limiting yourself.
Exactly.
Like,
So
you're
then,
putting a
if you're
limit there.
performing, you know, well, you're the best at it. You know, either it's picking up the trash or being a manager. If you're the best at it, I promise you, that money's gonna follow.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are not, you know, valuing you, then someone else will.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, and then this is the when I used to be in sales for DirecTV, and the company I was working for, they didn't value me. So they didn't give me the chance to be in the trade show that one day, and they just gave me a stack of flyers. So then, you know, it was 11 in the summertime, 11 a.m., and I'm in the parking lot, just putting all these flyers and all the cars that all the people that were already inside the trade show. But guess what? The manager of the competitor was, I put one in his car.
Yeah.
He was already in the car. So he just saw me for about 20 minutes. So he pulled out of the car. I mean, he pulled the car out of the spot, and then he's just following me. And I'm kind of looking, I'm like, oh, I wonder this guy, and I hope this guy didn't get upset because I put the flyer on his windshield. So he just cut me off, you know, right in front of me. And he's like, hey, guy, hey, buddy, come over here. I've been seeing you for half an hour, and you haven't stopped putting all these flyers, you know, all these cars, you know. I really appreciate you not stopping. You know, it's maybe 100 degrees out, and I see you work for this other company. I want to offer you a job.
Wow.
You know, so it's just out of the blue with a higher pay, but I didn't stop. I didn't, you know, feel this, you know, that they didn't give me the opportunity. I didn't victimize myself. I just went and did, you know, took another opportunity, like you said. And then, you know, another better opportunity came up from that.
Right.
So, but it seems to be that nowadays you don't see that as often.
Yeah, and I think to your point is hard work will always pay off. But you could ask anybody, any manager in multifamily, I'll speak on, but any manager, would you rather have the hardest working person on your team that has a bad attitude, or someone that needs a little help that we can train that has a great attitude? So I would prefer the person with the great attitude over
right.
the hardest worker.
Exactly.
So, you know, those two things will go, you know, hand in hand. So, yes, you need to be hardworking and dedicated and all of that. But for the people that are starting out in the industry, I would recommend, you know, staying with a positive attitude.
And be open.
And be open and just be a, you know, a genuinely, you know, kind, caring person and have that good positive energy and attitude. And that will take you so much farther than you would think.
If you go back and Chris, to interrupt you, but the property is the reflection of the management that's there. So anybody is like, there shouldn't be like picking up the trash on the sidewalk inside the property. That should be a job for the whole entire team.
Right.
Whoever is walking by, just pick it up. You know, I've seen leasing agents walking by and they say, that's not my job.
I do it. Like I don't work for the property, but I pick up I mean, I always do
I'm
it.
so
like,
used to picking up trash.
Why are you? I mean, why are you leaving? The other day, there are dogs, and I always say it's not the dog's fault. Like I get into the elevator, and it smells like dog pee, and it was just like the pee was all over the elevator, and I always clean that. My boyfriend told me, why are you cleaning this? Because I live here.
Right.
And no, you have to wait until, they come. No, I mean, I live here, but that's not your job. I know it's not my job, but I mean, what else?
Right. It's just taking pride in where you live and where you work. And yeah, it gets to the point. I mean, I know a lot of people in the industry, they say the same thing is, you get so used to picking up the grounds and on your property. Now all of a sudden you're walking through Publix and you're wanting to go pick stuff up. It's crazy. Your mind just goes right to the trash.
I was gonna say that because it happened to me at Target, and I'm picking up stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, so put that in my pocket.
I had to change that a little bit after COVID came in, because I used to be, like, I don't care, like I will, I will get it and I pick the things and I put it in the trash, and then COVID came in. I'm like. I caught myself one time and I was like, I don't know. It was a napkin and I don't know. Like if maybe someone used it. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Chris, I have what we do here. We start off here, warming up with a few things here and there. And then, but I have shared with you a few questions, right?
Yes.
So I tried to see how we can help the industry, and especially that we have already spoken about landscaper, we have spoken about cleaner, painting. So I want to diversify because our audience is, from all over. So now that we have your perspective from the maintenance side, you're speaking, in behalf of a lot of them. I have one other question, and we're going to start off with the first one I sent you.
Okay.
So out of the services that are being provided to the multifamily, which one you think it is the most difficult one to deal with?
You know, right now in this day and time today, I think the one that I'm having the most difficult time with, and this is, you know, not all companies are doing this yet, but UDR has gotten ahead of the curve a little bit and got ahead of the game on just how they've laid out their service teams and office teams. So right now, the hardest one I'm having to work with is the turn or the punch contractor. So that has become a little bit difficult, you know. So we see, like UDR, we contract out all of our whole punch side. We contract out our paint, our punch, our cleaning, and then our carpet cleaning or carpet replacement, you know. And that's pretty common in most at most properties, besides the punch portion of it. So that's something new that we've just started doing. I think UDR rolled it out in Florida about a year and a half ago. But I found that, you know, that has been kind of the most difficult for us and my sites, getting a good punch done to where we're not having to constantly go back and having to call them back because you missed this or you missed that. That has been
why do you think it's, I mean, if it's a new, it's kind of a new service that you are hiring, do you think it's maybe because people don't have experience on that?
Well, that is,
because I mean, I know it's just a lot of things that you usually do.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult, but there are a lot of details that you have to cover. So maybe people are not trained well to do that.
I think that's part of it, and I think, you know, it's just kind of the job market right now and how it is really with finding good quality people and, you know, and all of that. It's that's difficult all the way around. And, you know, in this case, it's no different. And, you know, I think a lot of people just aren't, I guess, well trained or haven't been in multifamily and in the apartment industry to know everything that we're looking for and what stands out for us and our residents. And that's just it's a lot of training that needs to take place in that. And
because there are a lot of details that you have to cover when you're doing the punch for the entire unit. I mean,
there really is. And, you know, there's a lot of just the small details make everything. You know, they always say, like, something that's been said to me, and I've said it for years, is when someone moves into an apartment, you know, if they go sit in the bathroom, right, and they're there and they start, oh, what's that? Oh, that. And then they're just, oh, wait, what's that? As soon as you find one or two little things, then you start looking for everything.
Right. Always.
So,
and this is one of the key is like, so if the apartment smells clean, so immediately it triggers something in your brain that it tells you that everything is good.
Correct.
So that is one of the things that we drive to make sure it happens. Obviously, the smell goes away, you know, in a couple hours. But if you walk in right after it's been cleaned, you are already satisfied by the smell and then by the vision, how you see things. And then you might actually oversee things that you actually might not see that are there, right?
Right.
But immediately when you walk in and it doesn't smell clean, and then you see the first thing that's wrong, I mean, your eyes start catching everything, okay? And it happens. I mean, it happens especially in the speed of the whole business, you know? So, but I mean, for us learning, we've done, I don't know, over 100,000 apartments. So we have learned many things and how to, and when we tell our team, it's just the same apartments over and over and over. But like you just mentioned, when we bring someone over, we have 100,000, you know, over 100,000 apartments experience.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
But now, what's easy for them is we can share all our knowledge over to them. Sometimes it's overwhelming for the amount of information that we give them. and they actually have to go and see it, and they have to run into it.
Yeah.
So, but then again, when you're gonna experience those type of persons that they've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So now they have to put in practice what they learned here in the office. So, but immediately when when we were walking that one property and you showed me the box, I already pointed out exactly everything because I've seen it so many for so many years.
Yeah.
I already know what's in the box, and I never done one.
Yeah.
But if you were to give me that box, I will know exactly what to do.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so in that, to go back to the punch part of it and why it's been such a challenge is because it does waste a lot of our time with the back and forth. So we're trying to, overcome that, and that's just been it's one of our biggest time killers right now that we're dealing with.
Because you're doing like double the work. I
you
mean,
go and you inspect it, and then you're in there taking pictures of, oh, you missed this, you missed that. You got to send the email, then they got to come back, and you got to go back and check it again. And it just, I mean, you can imagine, a large property that's doing, 30 plus units a month. If you're doing that, that's 5 or 6 a week that you're having to do that with and send back.
It's a lot of time.
It really wastes a lot of time for us. So we're trying to, figure ways on how we can, get that time back. Basically.
So I have spoken, when I see these other, we don't name property management, but, I have shared that in this case, UDR is in the head of the game.
Yes.
And I promise you that people are going to follow your steps in the near future. Once that's already taking, all the little bugs already, taken care of, people are going to follow that because that's the most genius and way of doing business. And I usually ask them, what is it that's important to you when it comes to numbers? And, they think that by doing it in-house, they're saving. But when we have broken it down, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It just doesn't. It's just like, and then.
Yeah, because there are a lot of things that you have to cover I always say like when we were talking about the punch portion of it, I told him something like, well, of course, they're the maintenance people of the building. They're not the ones in charge to turn the apartment to make it pretty for the new people, because you have a lot of work to do just maintenance.
Right.
But they had to do the service requests.
Exactly. Like those are every day,
right.
Especially now in the summer. Like all the ACs are broken
right.
down.
See, those for when you put it into a way, you have the resident that already in.
Exactly.
And you want them to leave good reviews, and you have to do the customer service.
Right.
So then you already have your maintenance tech all busy and booked
out,
up just doing that. And then on top of that, you want them to do the other portion of it that have nothing to do with residents. So contract that out.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Yes.
And then you eliminate you can eliminate one position of a service tech just by doing that. That's already $50,000 that you're saving right there on the spot.
Right.
And then liability and insurance and everything else. I mean, just right there. So.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
It is a bright idea, but it needs
it's. I believe it's still in the younger stage of how it's going to look. I do believe there are tweaks and things that need to be made. We're still learning what our staff should look like, how many people should be on each property. How do we still manage all the requests if we take away X amount of people? Are we going to be able to manage that? So it is something, that we're constantly evaluating as a company, as a region, as, a district, to see, because not every property, you can't just take a cookie cutter and do this to every property. Because every property is going to be different. The needs of the property are going to be different. The age of the property, the what do you have, garden style? Do you have a mid-rise? Are you sitting on 35 acres of land? Like all of that really matters. It comes into play.
Yes.
So UDR right now is they're learning. So we're taking the data that we receive back from the property, whether it be our survey scores, whether it be our move-in surveys and things like that, so we can determine how many staff members are actually needed at each site. And, UDR is really diving into that right now.
If you think about it, so if you have a high rise, you're going to be needing, you only have people just going through the elevator, so you're going to have elevator contractors.
Right.
When you have a garden style, then you have to have a contractor that fixes golf carts.
Right.
It's just going to have different needs and different everything. So, you have a park for kids in a garden style, and then you don't have, you have a pet spa over at, it's just, you have to be, it's all different. Obviously, but there's only so many high rises, so you can figure it out. So every time you have a high rise that's in the downtown area,
Right.
you're gonna have these issues. So you already have that taken care of.
Yeah.
So then you move over to the garden styles. It's gonna be more in the suburbs. We're gonna be more family oriented with kids. Then you already know how you approach that.
Right.
So that's pretty much what we do here. We're trying to see and find exactly the need for every single one of the properties based on demographic and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's beautiful. It's beautiful
Yeah.
that UDR is stepping up the game because there is a change that needs to be done. And we always say that the apartment industry runs like in the 1990s, that they're stuck into that era, and a lot of people don't want to like step up, and I really see that UDR is actually pushing those limits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
All right, so let's go to so let's talk about plumbing. We had an issue here, so that's how I got inspired by something like that, by that issue that we had. So, plumbing. What are your pet peeves when it comes to plumbing services? Best and bad practices that you have experienced.
Well, one thing I'll bring up, but I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but is that the communication between contractors or between our vendors is always very important. So this is in general, not just plumbers, it can be anybody, but just making sure we have that communication. I've had situations where a plumber, per se, let's just say the plumber for now, comes onto property and we've called them because, Unit 101 has a leak from their bathtub or whatever. A lot of times a plumber or whoever will just come onto the property and go straight to that unit, and they're over there working, and they never came to the office to check in with us. We called the plumber at 10 a.m. and it's like 3:30 now. We're going, where is this plumber at? And we're calling them up and, hey, we called you earlier. Are you coming? And they're like, we've already been there. They left. Yeah, what? We didn't even know they were there. So just that bit of communication. Like I said, it's not just a plumber, but
It
one
happens.
thing,
It happens.
yeah, I'll really hit on with plumbing is if I had a plumbing company, I would really like to see this. The plumber, normally when a plumber comes, he's cutting some type of drywall out.
Yes, always.
You're doing a tub manifold and they're cutting out the kid's bedroom wall and or they're cutting open a ceiling in the living room or whatever it is.
Just say it because I know where you're going.
Yeah, like
say it.
do the sheetrock too. Like have somebody on your staff that can just be a one-stop shop. Like you send the plumber out, he cuts open the wall, and then have your sheetrock guy come back and take care of that because it really eliminates a lot of phone calls, emails, all that for us. Where if I call Fernando's plumbing company and I know that every time Fernando comes, he does the sheetrock work too, and I don't have to worry about that. Now I don't have to call the sheetrock company and all of that and
it's
schedule that and
it takes more time for you to finish one thing it costs more I guess complaints from the resident, like if it's someone that lives in there, like because I used to live in a place south of Gandhi. And it was like a very old place. Yeah. And we had, my mom lived there, and then she had this huge issue with the guy from the apartment from the top. And it was just like, it was again and again, and the plumbing company came and they repaired the thing, and then we have to wait for the other guy, and it was all open, and it was just like a horrible experience. And then after they finish everything, the leaking start again. So the plumbing, it was just like a non-stop thing, and you're right. Like if they do everything, it's just like one thing and bye.
Yeah.
I seen the plumber breaking the wall with a hammer.
Yeah.
I'm like,
They don't care how they get to it. It's just gonna
they
get
just
in there.
boom, boom, boom.
It's like, well, I have to fix this. I don't care
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I break
You think they're gonna
everything.
cut it to where it needs, so someone can put it back there? No, they got just like slamming the freaking wall with that.
Whatever's
So-
in the tool bag.
Yeah.
Let me get in there.
Yep.
Yeah, I always felt that, because most of the plumbers we use are more geared towards multifamily. They do, lots of multifamily. So I always felt that if they could do that and just make it more of a one-stop kind of shop for that, then that would help us out tremendously, and it would make me want to use your company even more.
Right.
So
But I think they are very like with plumbers. I always feel like they don't get used to the new way of doing business. I feel that whenever we bring a plumber here to the office, it's just like they're always sometimes I feel they're gonna have that phone with a ring, like the old very phone, or a big, because and they send you an invoice, and sometimes it's you like writing. It's just like they manage the business like
written invoices.
yeah,
From the one that you can read
Yeah,
off
like-
the little book.
right.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just crazy because you're like, well, we are.
Yeah,
I mean,
email me,
very
please.
Yeah.
send me an email.
I think like to say that is like all the contractors that are out there these days. I think that the communication is definitely key, and not having written invoices, but emailing us invoices, emailing us, pictures from when you started and,
Yeah.
and what it looks like when it's finished.
Yeah.
And, so we don't have to send somebody over to look. We don't have to, do all this follow up. It's just boom right there in our email. And we're like, oh, okay, great. It's
Perfect.
done. It's just 1, 2, maybe 3 less things we have to go.
That's
check.
perfect. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good news. So, to all the plumbers out there, listening to
we are in
to this-
2020.
to the podcast, right? So just step up your game, man. If you can add, these services, drywall is a must. You need to do that, especially if you're the one breaking all the walls.
Yeah.
It is an add-on for you, and that's perfect. Thank you for sharing
And of
that.
course, you're gonna charge the property for that. Like, I mean,
Right,
if
yeah.
it's not like
Yeah, it's
you
not
have
for
to
free.
include
Yeah, it's not
exactly.
for
You don't
free,
have to
yeah.
include that service.
Yeah,
with
we
the
wouldn't
thing.
expect it to be free. Either,
Exactly.
So, it would just help. It would help.
It would just help,
streamline it. Yeah.
And then, so I think that we can clarify. So, what about a good experience that you have with a plumber? Is there anything?
Oh yeah, I mean for the most part, all the vendors and contractors that I use, I have great relationships with, and they do a great job. Everyone's going to make a mistake. I understand
Right.
that, but yeah, for the most part, everybody that I work with does a great job, and I'm happy with what they do for us.
Okay.
That's just what I mentioned about the sheetrock. That's
Right.
just a way to improve and make it
Exactly.
make it even
Exactly, that's
better.
perfect.
Exactly.
So let's go move on to the next question. How have you improved communication within your team and outside services providers? So this is something, and Irene and I have noticed, like every person, every guest that we have brought, communication is number one.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it. Communication from both sides. We are here, and we always our job is always to improve, because there's always room to improve when it comes to communication. But we notice it from the other side. When I say the other side, listeners, is gonna be the multifamily side.
Yeah.
And then as we will show up, and they're like, oh, sorry, but it wasn't 301. It's actually this one that they haven't moved out yet.
Yeah.
They just called us last night that they're not gonna move out. Okay, why didn't you communicate that? So it does happen a lot from the other side. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry I didn't let you know, but today we have a move out, and I'm moving it tomorrow. Can you help us out?
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
So
But we like those when
We
it's
love-
the
we-
same day. But when we don't, let's use the word appreciate that much. But we understand. Like we understand. Like you are busy, and most of the time it doesn't depend on you. Like but our team members, whenever they go to a unit, it get canceled right on the spot. Oh, that makes them
Yeah.
feel like really like
we
I
understand
already
it.
drive.
We understand it. because it
Yeah,
happens,
of
but
course.
they don't.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
They don't. They like,
Yeah.
why? So
Yeah.
then they blame us. I swear to God, this is not, it wasn't us.
We just found out.
You just found out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the communication, perfect. So when it comes to the communication, and from Chris' perspective, and what you've seen, and what do you think on the question, what can it be improved?
Well, I'll give you an example of this really just happened about a week ago. So with UDR again, we do contract out the punch portion of all of our units. Another thing that we do as well is our guys don't take call. They don't take emergency call. Now
Oh, wow.
they are put on as a backup just in case. So we do have somebody on standby if it's a last resort. But I would say 90 to 95% of our calls go out to AC contractors, plumbers, those type of people to deal with the emergency calls.
Wow.
So, for example, last week I was speaking with our AC contractor that he does AC work for us during the day, but he also does our emergency on call for us at night when it comes to AC. And we were talking about a way to streamline the process for the resident for after hours to know when they are actually going to be there. Because, as you can imagine, it's really hot outside and there's a
Yes.
lot of AC calls right now.
Yes.
So when they do call the AC company at night, they'll respond to the call, but it might not be in 30 minutes. It might be an hour or two, that they'll get there. So the resident kept calling our call center back. What's the ETA? What's the ETA?
Yeah.
And so we talked with our AC company, and he came up with a way that he now, when the resident calls in, the resident will receive a text that gives the ETA, and then has a tracker put on there too that will track the person, the technician coming to their apartment.
Kind of like Uber.
Like a Uber. Yeah, so you hit that track technician, and it shows you exactly where the technician is. Because not only were our residents calling, back a lot, it's been 30 minutes, where are they, but
Guys, talk about McDonald's.
People don't have patience nowadays. Like they are not patient.
yeah, it's everybody, it's that world we live in and want it now.
Yeah,
right now.
everything has to happen right now.
Yeah, every single thing's an emergency, but HC truly is. So, so not only does it stop them from having to call back so much, is a lot of times what would happen is the resident would leave the house. They'd call the AC guys on the way, but they would leave the house. They're like, I'm going to the pool. Like, I'm going to go try to cool down, or I'm going to go somewhere to cool down somewhere, while I'm waiting. Well, then the AC technician gets there and
Nobody's
nobody's home. They can't
Oh
get
my
in the apartment.
goodness
It's
gracious.
9:00 at night, So it was just causing a lot of problems. So he came up with that for us, to where now the resident can track the technician. They get the text message that says when they're going to be there, and it's really started helping things out tremendously.
Wow, that's perfect.
He also has him in particular, because he's doing the best at it, but our other contractors, we've been working with them on this too, is every morning they send us a nightly report to each property as to what calls they went out on. Was it resolved or was it not resolved? Where they left off with it.
Yeah.
So having that communication is
it's beautiful.
It's key for us in the morning, because you have, your service manager comes in and he's getting on his email. He's looking into his, one site for work orders, and he's trying to get his day going and planned. And he sees all these AC calls that came in last night, and he's going, well, what happened? Were they taken care of? Then he gets that email and it shows exactly. So it helps him to plan his day. So now we got our plumbers doing that. Our AC company is really doing the best job at that right now.
Wow.
But we have our other contractors getting worth it.
That's awesome. So for our listeners, this is a great information when it comes to communication. Step up your game. Even ourselves, this is great, great information, so there's always room for improvement when it comes to communication.
And residents, they need to be patient. My mom lives in a condo, and the AC got broken last week on Friday night. And of course, it's different. Like it's not
Right.
like you call the like the
The maintenance,
maintenance of
Yeah.
the leasing office. Hey, no. So she's like, "Well, I don't know what to do." And I called the company that does the maintenance here at the office. And the lady was like, "Well, I can put your call in for this Saturday or Sunday, but there is an emergency fee." So I told my mom, and my mom's like, "That sounds expensive. So let's wait until Monday." So she was the whole weekend like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's hot in here. Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." Because I mean, the
Yeah.
emergency fee will be, like pretty high.
Yeah.
So residents, you have to be patient. Like, I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
30 minutes, you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
All right, so Chris, that's awesome. That was a great information. I'm sure the audience that are listening, especially the plumbers guy, just take
Yeah.
notes. Now this
And
one,
the other AC companies that are not doing that, they're
Right.
taking notes.
this one because I've seen lately there's two properties that are running into this issue, and that's why I brought it up to for us to talk about restoration and mitigation, and it's a nightmare. This is something that it happens a lot to properties, especially you have 350 apartments. The chances for something like that, a pipe busting and flooring apartments is common. So, from your experience, what do you think it can be improved?
Every time I see an invoice from somebody from one of these jobs, I always say I should have went into the restoration company. I'm serious because I mean,
Yeah,
I honestly, I think a lot of communities, a lot of companies, apartment, companies and communities, they really don't want to call that person, right? Because
Yes.
that bill is so high. I mean,
Yeah.
that bill is pretty outrageous, even for your standard, small area that's affected. I mean, every bill or invoice I've seen is usually no less than $2,000.
a minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
I think that some of the reasons is because they're using these terms for the mall, but they call it differently, and then all this stuff that you really don't understand quite, and they bring all this equipment that
Yeah.
looks so expensive,
Yeah.
and they're putting plugging stuff into the wall, and then,
Yeah.
and they have per code and all this, and you're like you have to kind of back off a little bit and let them do their because
Well,
they're
they know
experts.
what they're doing.
Yeah, we hope that they are, but you don't, you personally don't know exactly what's going on, and the next thing you know is like $4,000,
Yeah.
Right.
and you're like, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, remediation companies, if you guys could figure out a way to get your prices better, and we would call you a lot more, I promise. Because there's a lot of, properties and things out there, they won't call the remediation person. They'll try to just do it themselves, and maybe it's not being done the right
Like
way.
my
No,
mom,
it
the
is-
emergency fee sounds
exactly.
expensive.
Yeah.
No.
So, I mean, I think there's probably instances out there where you might have should have called the remediation company and you didn't because you know that
Because the
that's $2,000 or that
Yeah.
wow, that one's a little bit bigger, that one's
Yeah.
$5,000.
So let me ask you, and let's explain this to the companies. So the reason why you might choose to do it yourself, even though, I mean, in all the books, it's gonna be like you're not supposed to because the water is going in through the wall. Mold's gonna grow inside that you don't see. There's a lot of stuff that's supposed to be done, but a lot of companies might choose not to do that because they're afraid of the price, because they're outrageous expensive. Usually, it's supposed to be run. It's supposed to be run by the insurance, but you don't want to hit your insurance with that because
Yeah.
then your premium is gonna go
Yeah.
up, and then so forth and so on. So, so now again, to explain to these companies the reason why, because I'm trying to explain to them that you need to understand pricing,
Right.
and that when I had the chance to consult other companies, I said you need to understand who you are servicing.
Right.
You're not, there's commercial, there's government facilities, there's medical. Then this one is called multifamily. This is not commercial. This is multifamily, okay?
Exactly.
So then you need to understand how it is run. So how do they run it? Those are investors that buy these properties. They don't care about properties. I mean, they have this one and they also have commercial, but they don't They just bought it for an investment. They want to hold it for 5 years and then sell it and make some profit. Okay, so during that time, they want to run it at a minimum cost. So please understand that. So in the meantime, while you plug yourself into a property, you need to try to maintain a relationship for a long term, money making while you're there. You're gonna make money in the long term based on the quantity of things that they're gonna give
by
you.
volume. That
By
you,
volume.
You make money by volume.
I say the best companies that are out there, no matter what you do, no matter what your trade is, whatever it is, the best companies out there develop partnerships with the properties. We're not just your customer and you're not just somebody we hired.
Right.
You develop a partnership and you come on an agreed, price or how you're going to do service or whatever that case may be, and you work together to resolve the issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the ones that we value the most in the industry, because you know that, hey, you've got a partner here that's going to help take care of your property, and you're going to give them all the work.
Exactly.
And what you just said is volume.
It's
so
volume.
Some people that don't understand the business, they want to make as much money as they can in the first
Yeah,
apartment.
exactly.
I'm like, dude, you're gonna get kicked out.
It's just like say McDonald's, right? They don't make all the money off of selling one Big Mac.
Right.
Exactly.
They make all their money off of selling millions of Big Macs.
Yeah,
Right.
So it's kind of the same principle. Like, I'll come in, a vendor will come in and they'll try to hit us with some huge bill, and then we say, okay, well, let's find somebody else.
Then there goes your business. There goes like the opportunity that you could have, just keep a relationship with somebody, fix a problem for them, and then be as a partner.
Right.
So
you made 6,000 or 7,000 off of that one job, but we're not calling you back because you took advantage of our situation or whatever,
Yeah.
So we'll find someone that we want to partner with that's going to be, we're going to have a good relationship with, and we can continue to use them for, years and years. And we do have those people within UDR, and I've developed those type of people at other companies and properties, and, those are the ones that are going to stay with us, and they're going to, make money with us for years and years.
A long term. Yeah.
And then when it comes to that restoration, so I just saw this one, a sprinkler pipe busted on the third floor.
Yeah.
And everything just came down from
boy.
that down, Then that's really out of your for a maintenance to handle, because now you need water extraction.
Yeah.
You need all these vents, all these, fans that need to be on the floor, taking the client, the residents out, moving them to hotels. I mean, it's a complete nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
So when situations like that, what would you like to see from companies like that to do to help you guys? I don't know if you have run into situations like that.
Oh, yeah, too many times. Yeah, way too many times. Yeah, no, I mean, the most important thing is if you're already using someone that, like I said, you have that partnership with and things, they're going to be very responsive, for one, because that's the biggest thing in those types of situations. Let's get it dry. We have to dry this place out.
It's a very stressful situation.
Yeah, it's
for
very stressful.
Everyone. Yeah.
And if you've already got that partnership in place, you know pretty much what to expect from that company. So in situations like that, though, the biggest thing is the response time.
Okay.
Like, get there quick, because the longer we wait, the worse it gets.
Yes.
And, we need to get it dry like really fast. So then if you can get things dried out quickly, then you're not going into a remediation process where you're having to deal with mold issues and things like that. So that's the biggest most important thing.
Yeah, there's a brand new property downtown, brand new. There's only 12 residents in there. Flooded the whole entire floor.
Oh my goodness.
So they have a few residents in there. They had to move out. So it's just those things that, because I saw it twice this past week. That's why I kind of came up with the idea for the question, because of you having the experience of many things that you already done. So what can they do? If we have restoration owners listening to this podcast, what can they do better? So we already know response time is number one. So they're supposed to, be trained, or actually expecting that they have to run into places as fast as they can.
Yeah.
But when it comes to multifamily, I said, if you haven't done this and you're just used to do a house, that's getting flooded or whatever, you're gonna bring 5 fans or whatever. We're talking about 40
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah.
You need to
Talking
bring
hundreds.
It can be, it can be
Yeah.
hundreds. I mean, depending on where it happens. I mean, it can be really, really bad. So,
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, people can make tons of money when it comes, providing that type of service to property, multifamily. But you need to be prepared to have the manpower, to have the equipment.
Exactly.
Not anybody can just take a job like that.
Oh no, no, you can't.
Uh,
No, you have to be ready for that type of situation.
Right.
And that's where it comes into that partnership again. Is if you're gonna be there for me every time for the small job, well, I'm gonna give you also this big job.
Exactly.
Right. Because I had a little leak over here, and you had to bring one fan, and whatever. I needed a carpet cleaned or extracted, like, because the resident's moving in this afternoon, and something happened. Somebody forgot to schedule that. Can you be here? Yes, I'll be there. Okay, you were there for me for all the little stuff. Now,
When
here,
the big one
when
hits,
the big
you're
stuff
gonna
happens,
be
you're
there.
gonna be there too. So
Exactly.
you take the good and the bad.
Always,
Yeah.
always. So,
It's building the relationship.
Exactly.
It's just,
Yep.
and again, so before we close this episode, good thing. So I already kind of to go over a little bit with what we spoke about communication.
Yeah.
Again, so guys, just if you haven't, there is a 16 episode that we already done, and everyone speak about it, communication. So from both sides,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then for managers and regionals, if you have your team, there is tons of room, to improve communication, especially to help out your vendors to be more accurate and efficient. And then vice versa, if you're a service provider, keep your clients and, up to date with what's going on. There's ads over there, like Chris just mentioned, that can help residents to see if you're dealing with restaurant directly, then, a tracker for your technician, that's beautiful.
Yep.
And then what else we got going on? So if you are getting into your new tech, be passionate about it. Just try to put, be intentional with what you're doing. You got 100% to your property. The property is a reflection of management. So everyone is working as a team.
And the positive energy and attitude. Is,
Positive energy, attitude. If you don't have it, bro, just work elsewhere. I mean, they don't need you in the multifamily.
yeah, exactly.
So, Chris, thank you so much. I think we have plenty of information for today. I know we've received pictures of people taking notes as they're listening to the show.
Yeah.
So it is a beautiful thing. So this is gonna come out next week.
Yes.
So we'll send you a small clip before, so you can share on social media and then share with everybody else. Irene, anything you want to say?
Thank you very much. I really enjoy.
Well, thank you.
the
I really
conversation.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. It was, like I said, it was an honor to be here with you guys,
Awesome.
and this is really cool. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's an
Thank you.
honor to have you. Well, thank you very much. As always, if you guys need to communicate with us on the notes of each episode, I have my email there. So send us your feedback.
Awesome.
Thank you
and
for
then
being here.
you can tune in on Spotify, iTunes, in our channel on YouTube.
All platforms.
all the platforms.
We're all over the place.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thanks.